Well, Sheila's having some problems, so on behalf of her and Bob Pascal and the South End Block Club Coalition, we just wanted to thank all of the candidates for participating in these forums. We feel that this is a great way for our citizens to get to know more about you and about your campaign message. And plus, it's a little bit more techy. So Bob and myself and Sheila, we'd also like to thank Tom and the Civics Project for seeing the value of our idea, and the Rotary Club of Niagara Falls for their sponsorship. Well, of course, the Niagara Gazette has been absolutely wonderful. We're so glad that they felt that this was a worthwhile cause. Thanks to Mike Artecki, and a very big welcome and thank you to our moderator, Joe Janko. He's the regional news editor for the Niagara Gazette. Joe, we appreciate your time, and candidates, we look forward to hearing all about you.
Well, thank you very much, Ruth, and it's an honor to be here. Even if you people are, if everybody here is a little bit nervous, that's okay, because I am too. I guess we're all in this together, because, you know, like Dante's shirt says, we all we got.
Right.
But as I got together earlier and I wrote down all 6 candidates' names, and I asked the magic Google machine to give me an order because I wanted it to be drawn randomly. So for the first question, we'll use that order 1 through 6. And for the second question, we'll use that order 6 through 1. So, and the order of speaking for the first question will be Abendanza, Miles, Ligamari, Bax, Harry, and then Zajac. That just was the luck of the draw. I don't know if it makes sense. I don't know if it's better to be first, last, or in the middle. But the whole idea is for everybody to speak for about 60 seconds on the first question. And if you get to about 75 seconds, I'll start waving at you a little bit and give you about 15 minutes or 15 seconds to wrap up, just so that nobody monopolizes the mic. And then after we've been through all 6 candidates, we'll give everybody another 30 seconds to a minute to discuss that same question in case anybody brought something up that perhaps they felt needed a little bit more clarification. The 2 questions that we had tonight is what was the role of a city council person? What is it now? And what do you think it should be changed to include? And the second question was, in your opinion, what 5 issues are most important to the city right now? I know that's going to be a little bit difficult to fit into a 90-second answer, but it can be done, I think. And it keeps things flowing and it keeps things a little more interesting. So without further ado, does anybody have any questions, or should I just start right in on the question? All right then. Hey, James Abendanza, you're first.
Hello. It figures
what is the role of a city council person and what should it be? Go right ahead from there.
Well, I was going to say, it figures the shyest person here would end up having to go first. You know, I tend to be pretty quiet, and as you'll see in a little while, I also talk like a robot. So, you know, it doesn't mean I don't have any passion for our city and our residents. So I'm just a little bit more quiet about it. So let me answer your question. So I see the role of city council as having an equal partnership with the administration. You know, council's responsible for making policy and legislation, voting on budgets and contracts and other financial items and concerns. Within that, I see the role of a city council person as a person who acts in the best interest of our residents, regardless of political consequence. And, that's got to put parties aside sometimes. I think a council person should be proactive. I think they should be willing to reach out for help. I think they should be willing to find and act on new ideas. And I think that they should be open to continued learning, and especially be ready to work hard for our residents. I'm going to bring all those qualities to the table myself. So that's the first part. You want to say the second part again?
Well, that was actually, what do you think it should be changed to include?
So what, wait, did I not finish the first part then? So that was more of the
Well,
role.
you came close enough, I think.
All right.
You're at about a minute
so-
and a half right now anyway, so.
Okay. So as far as what I think it should be changed to, I think the city council should be a smart and professional body of local government. I think the members should understand the powers that were granted to them by the city charter, and they should act accordingly. They should take part in continued training, and they should learn the laws and procedures that they operate with. If they're not informed on those laws, how the procedures work, how are they expected to follow them or know when someone else is breaking them?
Thanks, James. You
Thank
hit
you.
just about 2 minutes there, so I hate to cut you off, but what the heck?
Cut me
If we're
right off.
this whole thing moving, we'll keep this
Yeah.
whole thing moving. And now I just have to reset my stopwatch so that I stay fair with everybody. But
Yeah.
the next person to come up in the magical Google box was Dante. And do you pronounce your first name Dante or Dante?
Dante.
All right then. Dante, I will ask you the same question. What is the role of a city council person? What is it now? And what do you think it should be changed to include?
Well, the main role of city council really is to balance the budget for the city. Also being the determining factor, the deciding factor of what's developed in the city and what's not developed. Of course, as James mentioned, they vote on union contracts and pretty much basically votes on how our tax dollars are going to be spent in the city of Niagara Falls. Some may think that, a simple yes or no vote is pretty much the extent of the duty. However, to kind of go into the second portion of your question, city council, what I think it should be, they should be a body of decision makers that actually engage the community in which they serve, to gain knowledge and understanding of the needs of the city, and to create resolutions to address those needs and issues that the city has as a whole. Resolutions, ideas, and not to just ponder on the negative things that are going on, but actually come to the table to create a resolution that would make sense, that would actually help for the betterment of the whole city.
Well, all right. Thank you very much.
No problem.
And I have to reset my magic stopwatch, but the third person here to speak is going to be Colin. So Colin, I'll ask you the same question: is what's the role of a city council person? What is it now? And what do you think it should be changed to include?
Hi, thanks. Well, by definition in the city charter, the city council is our legislative and policy-making body of the city. The council writes and passes legislation, as well as adopts an annual budget, should adopt an annual budget that is most responsible for our taxpayers. And as far as what it should be, I think that it should be the legislative body of our local government, but there's room for growth in that position as well. I would really like to see members of our council being more of a liaison between the community at large, the communities at large, and the local governing bodies. So just to make sure that the communities are being heard in their local government and working together to make sure that we meet the needs of the people.
Okay, and how would you like to see the role of councilman changed?
Oh, I'm sorry, that was both of my answers.
That was both your answers. Well, all right then. Cool. And so, gee, we made it through Dante. Now we come up to Tracy Bax. So Tracy, I will ask you the same questions. What is the role of a city council person? What's it now? And what do you think it should be? Take it away.
Great, thank you. So I agree with a lot of what we've heard already from James and Dante and Colin. So the role today, and it is, as Colin stated, it is defined in the city charter. We're a legislative body. We are tasked with adopting a budget and enacting that budget, but also representing the interests and of our constituents, of our residents. But furthermore, I think it's important to understand that we have to, as Dante had said, we have to be more than just vote yes or no on things. We really have to understand what it is that we're voting on. We have to approve, spending. We have to really pay attention to the budget, to the expenditures for capital items, for things that are happening around the city, and how that money will be spent for the interest of the public. There's so much that goes into it, but when you think about, okay, well, what else do we need to be doing? And I heard a little bit of this already. We're leaders. A city council member is a leader of the community, and we need to be engaged. We need to listen, and we need to understand what's important to the residents and bring that forward. So there's two things when I think about this. Number one, we have to look at, well, how are we going to propose resolutions, solutions, and ways to address those issues? And that's all for today, like what's happening today, and how are we going to take care of those things and be engaged in that. But we also have to look at, and this is to answer that second part of the question, but I really think we need to be looking into the future and working with city administration and other department head leaders and understanding what do we need to do for this city moving forward, and how does the budgetary process and things that we're looking at today matter for the future, so that we can be planning for those things. So I think we have to take care of the business at hand for today, but we also have to be proactive leaders and looking ahead for the future and making decisions about that.
Okay, thank you very much. And next up is Jim Perry.
Yes, thank you. It seems like my fellow candidates, as well as I did, have gone through the city charter to know what the answer would be on this one. I guess, well, we all thought the same way on this. The answer to what the role or responsibilities are pretty simple. It's the administrative branch of government for the city, and everybody covered it pretty well. And you have to be part of the community to do that well. I'd like to add something to it, but Jesus, you guys covered it all pretty well. And I don't want to sound like I'm repeating again, or sound like a politician. So let me leave that. I don't think that I don't think it's realistic to think that we could change it. And one of the things is, what are we going to do to change it, or what can we do to change it? Because the mayor was one of the people that just helped change the charter a couple of years ago, and I don't think the resolve there is to change it in the next couple of years. So, and the way that it is, it's been working right for 2.5 centuries now, the way the government's set up. So I don't think there's anything to do to change it. I know at one time it did, we did have it broken down into districts, but the way the city's running, going downhill, the population, I don't see that as a realistic way to change it. I do agree, we need to be part of the community. We need to look forward. We need to look at the situations. We need to be proactive, and we need to look at things before they happen, and help make the city a better place. you all covered it very well. I mean, I wish I was the first one. I could have said those things first, but okay. That's it. I guess I'm.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it was interesting. I didn't realize that when I chose order that it would come out just like roll call in school where Avandanza ends up going first and Zajac goes last. Sometimes life imitates art or the other way around. But David, I don't think I need to repeat the question again, but I'm pretty sure you're ready to answer. So have at it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, like my previous fellow candidates have said, we are first and foremost a legislative body of the city. But I think what we also have to realize is that every single individual on that council is also an advocate for all the citizens across our city. It goes outside of your community, your neighborhood, your street, a street you may live on. You have to be an advocate for everyone in that, is a resident of our city. Because the policies that we vote on, legislations we bring forth, the funding that we are in charge of monitoring, it really does impact the entire city. And I think it's something that, elected officials can tend to lose sight of, that, maybe they think they're only voting on one piece of legislation that affects one area of the city, but really every vote does have some effect on the rest of the city. And, other things that I think some elected officials have happened to them is that once they're in office, they kind of lose touch with, the people that put them there, like several of the other candidates have said. So I think staying involved in the community and really in touch with communities all across the city is something that I would like to see myself, hopefully if I'm elected, and one of my, two of my other fellow candidates down here, if we're elected, be more proactive with the community.
Okay. Thank you very much. And I guess we said we were going to go with another 30 seconds or so for each candidate, if you'd like. And I know that just talking about what you already talked about would be a little bit boring. So as I shuffle my papers here, I think I'm going to cross it up a little bit and say, hey, expound a little bit on what your fellow candidates had to say, but also, tell me something about a neighborhood or a place you've been in Niagara Falls, because it's a big city and these roles are at large, not by ward, that maybe made you feel a little bit uncomfortable and how you dealt with that. So James, I'll call on you again if you like. And even if you don't like it, I'm on you anyway.
I was going to say, even if I don't like it. So repeat that again. So you want to know
Sure.
About a neighborhood,
or just someplace you've been in the city, because it's a big city where maybe you didn't go before you were running for office and maybe it made you feel a little uncomfortable.
All right. Well, uncomfortable, I guess that sounds a little negative, but it is an accurate feeling. Sometimes when you leave your own neighborhood, I grew up in the High Park area, and you travel to other neighborhoods, you meet new people, and even in our little city, people have different ways. I know recently, there's the School of Thought on 19th Street. It's not my neighborhood. It's mostly a Black community, and going over there, at first, to step out of a place where I'm used to being into a place that I'm not, it felt a little uncomfortable. But I've met people over there who have been utterly welcoming, and it's now one of my favorite places to go when I actually get a chance to go. It's like I said, it was different from what I'm used to, and meeting the different people and hearing their stories. A lot of people raised a little differently than I am, or whatever. But yeah, everyone over there has been very welcoming. So I've been very happy to leave the bubble of my neighborhood and find new, friends and associates throughout the city.
Okay, thanks, James.
Yes.
Not to cut you off, but
that's perfectly fine.
Everybody equal time. So I guess that means that Dante is up next. Dante, kind of the same question, and you're welcome to talk a little bit about what any of the other candidates had to say about their candidacies and the role of a council person, but also, has there been a time or any place you've ever gone in the city where maybe it was a little awkward or you didn't feel so comfortable? And what do you have to say about that?
I don't know too much about feeling uncomfortable more so, and I'll say more so due to this whole campaigning. There are areas of the city that are very different from what I'm used to. And not necessarily even in such a nasty light, but it's like it's such a cut and dry difference between very impoverished areas of our cities and very well-to-do areas that are very well taken care of. So walking down some of the different streets in DeVoe, certain portions of Cayuga Island and whatnot, I see almost like it's a different world. So it was different to me. It was like, where maybe, less than a quarter of a mile away, it's a lot of blight and it's a lot of, so that's the uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable mentally for me to see such a vast difference when it
Thanks.
comes down to that.
All right, good. Thank you for your answer. And I guess I keep flipping my sheets over. So the next up, if I stick to my order, is Colin. The exact same question. Do I have to repeat it or are you pretty good?
No, we're good. Not to piggyback, but I think that as far as what everyone had to say about what the role of council should be, I think everyone is reasonably on the same page that we need more community involvement in our local government. So just reiterating what they said in agreement. Regarding neighborhoods that I've been to where I have felt uncomfortable. It's a tough question for me because I am both comfortable and uncomfortable everywhere I go. I'm reasonably awkward as a person, and I've lived in a million different places. So the way I overcome that is just to literally talk to everyone. So recently I have found myself in neighborhoods that I didn't know a ton about, but I've always found people there that are more than willing to talk about their neighborhood, let me know what's going on in their neighborhood. And tell me the issues that they're having as well. So as far as being uncomfortable, yes, what's uncomfortable in our city is the state of our city, not the state of our people. The neighborhoods are full of amazing people, but they look very different.
Okay.
So
Thank you. Good answer. I was trying to keep everybody to equal time. Sorry for cutting you off, but hey, man, somebody's got to do it. Otherwise, you'll find somebody to talk to who maybe makes you feel less awkward. But next up in our great order is Tracy. Have at it.
So I think, Colin, what you just said is like so true. It's what is uncomfortable is when you grow up in the city and you see the changes and what's happened throughout the years, and you see some of the neighborhoods look very different from how they looked as you were growing up. And that is a very dissettling and uncomfortable feeling. And it's something that we have to, we have to work together and jump into and really find ways to improve the overall, just quality of life here for our residents. But so a quick story though that I'll share before I get cut off. I don't know where he just went, but so about I think this was maybe a couple months ago. A young woman that I had met while I was out meeting people in different neighborhoods asked me if I wanted to attend a vigil for an individual or for a family that. An individual who had been murdered. And I said, yeah, absolutely. You know what, I'd love to. And I went to the vigil and met people that, that I didn't know. And I was both uncomfortable, but comfortable in the same sense. So I completely understand what you're saying. And the question that I asked was, so, tell me your story. What happened? How are you feeling? What's, what happened here? And I got to hear stories of people and, what had happened and their perspectives in ways that I never would have heard had I not gone to that vigil in an area that I never would have gone to or asked the question. So.
Thank you very much. And Jim Perry, same question.
I can't say that I've been places where I've felt uncomfortable. I have been places in the city that I felt disheartened. I've been places. I came from a broken home, so I grew up in the projects. I grew up in bad neighborhoods. I grew up uh, in the inner city, the North End. I grew up in LaSalle, so I've been all over the city. Is that you again, Joe?
I muted him.
Add a couple of seconds onto my time. But you know, I've lived in all parts of the city, and I've grown up in all parts of the city. And you know, what in every place there I've been, I've lived downtown, and just recently, within the last couple of weeks, I've been down to the North End, Willow Avenue, Weston Avenue, Macomb, down in that area, one of the areas we used to live. And I walked through that area, and I could not believe, when we grew up, that area was, you know, it was the old Italian neighborhood and stuff. And I couldn't believe the deterioration of the homes and the houses and the vacant houses and how they've fallen apart and what happened to that neighborhood. And it just tore me apart. And, you know, Dante, okay. Sorry.
I gave you a little extra, but I'm still trying to keep things moving along. So
All right, yeah.
I apologize in advance for cutting anybody off, but
That's all right.
somebody's got to. David Zajac.
Yes,
Go
sir.
ahead.
So, I mean,
Question.
I have, there's no really part of the city that I feel uncomfortable in. I mean, for several reasons. I grew up down on 24th Street, right near our family's business, Zajac Funeral Home. All through, you know, high school, I had friends all across the city. We would ride our bikes pretty much anywhere in the city. And then when we got our licenses, we would drive anywhere in the city. And, you know, recently my fiance and I purchased a home in DeVoe. So I got to see, you know, where I grew up in, what it's become today, and where I live now, and it's almost polar opposites. And then another facet of that I think has been a benefit to me is, although I have not run into this office before, I have run for a county legislator seat, and I've walked the neighborhoods of the 6th district several times. That's all the way up from 72nd on the Buffalo Ave side down to neighborhoods between Main Street and the Gorge. So, I mean, I've walked all the streets in between there, got to meet so many people, and really, I mean, their concerns pretty much echo each other. Some may be more severe than others, but I mean, the concerns pretty seem general to everyone I've talked to. And again, some may have come off a little more rash than others, but they had a very good reason to be rash, and I enjoy hearing all their concerns.
Well, thank you very much. And I think we're ready to move on to our second round of questions. And David, because you got stuck going last the first time through, or had the benefit of going last the first time through, you get to go first for the second question, which is, in your opinion, what 5 issues are most important to the city right now?
Yeah, so I mean, when I was coming up, when I got the email and I was looking at the questions and coming up with my list of things, I found that I was able to compile most of them into more or less 3 points. For me, it came down to crime, quality of life issues, and economic development. You know, I mean, I think no one's unaware of the crime that's happening in our city, from the rise in property crime to violent crime, and the heartbreaking murders that we've seen over the past several years in our city. No one can shy away from it. I think we need to work very hard with the community, with the current administration, with our law enforcement, to bridge the gap between law and order in the city. I think that's the only way we're going to see that progress and, you know, really get our neighborhood feeling safe, you know, somewhere that people can live, play, and work safely again. As for quality of life issues, I mean, this goes beyond just residents. You know, we have several family members that live out of state, friends that come to visit, and, you know, when they come in and they see overgrown trees or our sidewalks that are, you know, it's like walking on the side of a hill. The streets are awful. They drive by vacant lots that are just inhabited with fescue. You know, I think that's issues that really go beyond just our, you know, our residents having to deal with it. And I mean, when tourists come here, especially downtown, they see a lot of that down there. And I think we need to address that very quickly and get that straightened away for the betterment of our citizens and for our tourism future. And then economic development, I think, was highlighted by the recent pandemic. Tourism is our lifeblood of our city's economy. No one can really deny that. We have 9 million visitors that come to our city. Obviously not in the past year with the pandemic, but I think it shows that we really need to invest more into reaching out to economic development companies that want to come here and do business, such as like big tech companies and things that can sustain for generations to come. Because tourism is great, but if anything like this happens again, I mean, we have to have another revenue source for our citizens to work at,
Okay.
to support our tax base.
Thank you. And I think next up is Jim Perry with the same question. In your opinion, what 5 issues are most important to the city right now?
Okay, I'm going to give you a list real fast, and then I'm going to try and talk about them a little bit. Number 1 is the city's continuing financial crisis, the deterioration of the city infrastructure, the crime, of course, and these are in no particular order, the neighborhood deterioration of the good affordable housing, and the lack of civic pride. So those are the 5, and the crime has increased by over 300% in homicides just in the past year. It's gone from 2015 to 2019. It's averaged like 4.6. This year, it's over 300% in this year alone, and we're only halfway through the year. But one of the things that we got to look at, I have group meetings, and one of the things we got to do is these problems don't come from Niagara Falls itself. They start from Albany. And I go through the Facebook pages, I read a lot of the stuff that people write and things, and they say, well, we got to throw the mayor out. It's not the mayor's problem. That comes from Albany. And as a council person, what I would like to do, one of the things I'd like to do is get groups together, people. When I was younger, we petitioned the government to have the 18-year-olds vote, and we took petitions and everything. You got to get people together. As a councilman, that's one of the things we could do, is get with the community and get them to work together. I don't think these legal reform movements in Albany are helping us. They're hurting us. A lot of things people don't understand is the majority of the city is run by the state, annexed by the state. We pay the financial crisis we're in. The firemen go down to help people the gorge. The fire department that we're paying for, they're not, the state doesn't help us pay for them. We're paying for them with our taxes. We're crying about the taxes being so high. What is the state helping us with that? They're not helping us. Yes, sir. I'm done.
Okay. I know I need to stop apologizing every time I have to cut somebody off. It's just the nature of the beast, I suppose.
No, I could talk all day, but you just cut me off whenever you want.
It's okay. Yeah, it's a good thing. It's not a bad one. But our next up, number 4, is Tracy, who was last seen with the Golden Gate Bridge in her background. Go ahead.
So just kind of along with what Jim had said and what David had said, I sort of boiled it down to a couple different areas. So obviously, business growth, economic growth in this city is very important. David mentioned it. The tourism industry is a big industry here. As a matter of fact, it's the largest industry here, followed by health services and healthcare, as far as employing residents in our city. So we have to continue to invest and create an environment where businesses, entrepreneurs and businesses want to invest and continue to grow, grow their businesses here, because that creates jobs, right? And jobs, puts people to work and enables them to be able to meet, whether it's, basic needs or home ownership or different things that we need to help our residents for. So I really believe business growth and investing in our the different business sectors, whether it be healthcare, tourism, or other areas, is really important. Crime, and Jim, you couldn't have hit the nail, more dead on. It is definitely an issue here. It's something, another passion of mine, near and dear to my heart. We have to create a sense of safety. I was chatting with a resident who said I don't know if it's safer during the day or at night, or when it's safe to go out into the different areas of the city, and that's just not right. So we really have to work with our law enforcement, understand what they need. How do we have proactive measures and things around the city to help besides policemen, to reduce crime? And the other thing, and I know my time is getting short here, that I just want to throw in that hasn't been said, I don't think it's been said yet. We have to empower and engage our younger residents, so that they understand the impact they have on our community. They're our future leaders, and getting them involved early on, and creating and helping them to see how they impact the community, the choices they make, and how they can make a better Niagara moving forward, I think is so important. So
Thank you,
I'll leave it
Tracy.
at that before you cut me off.
I
How's that?
was just about to too, so well
I
played.
know.
And our next speaker, and there I go with that. It's a good thing there's no Toastmasters here counting me. But Colin, go right ahead and answer.
I'm going to try to get through all 5 with some bullet points of what I feel are the biggest issues in the city. I've got crime as my number 1. We don't need the statistics in front of us to know that it's skyrocketed. What I'd like to add is I think that crime is not only affecting the entire city, but it's affecting portions of our city disproportionately, and that needs to be looked at. And we need to come up with community-based solutions for that matter. My second thing I had was a shrinking tax base. We've been on a steady decline of residents since the fall of our industry, and we have failed to adopt a new industry and commit to it. And by that, I mean, is it tourism? Is it not tourism? If it is tourism, what are we doing to actually push it so that we look like Niagara Falls, Ontario? So our young people are leaving to find a better life. They're not coming back. Our tax base is shrinking. Quality of life is important. Our residents don't feel the same pride that they once did. They feel like they're not being heard, which is important. I spoke to Trent Hamilton on 19th Street, and he told me that he feels that the residents find it hopeless after trying so hard for so long to get things done and not feeling heard. So that needs to be explored as well. Quality of life here is, it's not where it should be, and it's important. Infrastructure, the whole city is falling apart bit by bit. We don't have a single smooth road or sidewalk. We've got death missile, tree limbs, any minute. That's a big issue. Our blighted exterior is a perfect breeding ground for fires and more blight. So that needs to be addressed. And finally, I have poor business climate. I feel like we are a poor business climate. I'm a small business owner. I've spoken with other small business owners as well as owners of larger businesses and corporations. And, we've concluded that post-pandemic, it's taken a major toll on all industry. And we need to create smoother pathways for businesses to want to come here and do business in our city if we're going to move forward and make a better future.
Thank you.
Did I make it?
Yeah, you did. I was getting close to cutting you off, but you didn't go too far, so it's okay.
I have more to say on that.
I've been giving everybody just about 2 minutes, so it's just because that seems to be what's working best. I hope that's fair with everybody, but our next comment shall come from Dante. Have at it.
All right, so I definitely want to link 2 of them together. I want to say that poverty and crime. I say this often, that you cannot speak of crime without talking about the poverty that's in our city. So those kind of go hand in hand. Another one is apathy, but this is actually 2 answers. We have apathy in our government elected officials. In many cases, when it doesn't affect, it doesn't sit at your front doorstep, sometimes you can tend to be apathetic and not really care that much, understanding that you're actually making decisions that's going to affect a whole city. So that level of apathy of it doesn't affect me, or my quality of life, and I'm not as engaged, that can be a problem, an issue. Then there's the apathy of the community members that have felt that, you know, we've had the same thing over and over, and same people come, they tell us the same thing, and they're telling us what they're going to do and how they're going to address certain issues. And the broken window theory, that's alive and well, whether we know it or not, in our community. And it seems to be as like there's zero intentions on fixing that problem. As far as if it's broken and it doesn't get fixed, it will get worse. And I think that's like a big issue. I think that, you know, kind of umbrellas everything, because it messes up our, what I call our curb appeal of our city. And that embodies the whole infrastructure and everything else.
Okay, thank you very much. And same question, last but not least, Mr. Abendanza.
So I'm going to do a lot of repeating because, you know, we've covered a lot of stuff here. But my list would be violent crime, obviously, as we all said, the well-being of our residents, financial responsibility in our city, local government transparency is one that I didn't hear, but I think is very important. And of course, long-term strategic planning. So, you know, to expound on some of them, you know, our residents are being murdered and crime is up on every front, as we talked about. And I haven't, you know, the administration hasn't really, they've been very silent about this and the plans to address it. As far as the well-being for residents, I think residents are affected every time they leave their homes. I mean, they leave their house, they look outside, they see blight, they see garbage, there's bad smells rolling in all night, and of course crime, and it wears away at us. The city's dirty. As far as, you know, financial responsibility, you know, not too long ago, we had groups and boards and commissions that made recommendations on how to spend and save money coming from like the casino, and those were ignored. So it would be nice to maybe, you know, circle back and read some of those. As far as transparency, the lack of communication from City Hall is just absolutely amazing. You know, we do get some bits and pieces of things, but, you know, for example, like I was talking about the homicides, you know, what's being done about it? Why is there no communication? And as far as long-term planning, you know, we've had some really good comprehensive plans and other plans developed by some really smart people. And, you know, these plans have been ignored over time. I know our comprehensive plan is already 10 years behind. So those are my 5 answers.
Well, all right, thank you very much. And I'm shuffling my papers just because I wanted to find a new speaker order. It truly is random. And I'm also, because we're making good time. I think if we can keep this forum to a meeting, to an hour or so, we're going to be in great shape. So the next question I'd like to lead everybody through, and geez, number 6 came up on top again. So David Zajac, you get to go first, is have you had a chance to read the report from the Mayor's Commission on Social Justice? And what did you think of it?
I'm sorry, I lost you on the end there. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay. Have you had a chance to read the report from the Commission on Social Justice? And what did you think of it? Were there any parts of it that really impressed you, or you thought maybe we're lacking a little bit?
I mean, again, to be completely honest, I have not fully read the entire report. I know that social justice is a big issue in the city, all across the city, not just in particular parts, while it is more prevalent in certain parts. I would like to have faith in the administration and the current council that they'll be able to do something to address this going forward. You know, they are still our elected officials until January 1st, when 3 of us will be sworn in. But I think, you know, we have to have faith in them to do something to address that going forward, because that's what they're there to do. And I personally have the faith in this administration and the current council to get something done to address those issues.
Okay. And the same question for Colin. You
Sorry, I was
can
muted.
ask it again, but
No, you're okay. I actually did not get a chance to read the mayor's report on that. So before I just start talking about something I haven't read, I'd like a chance to read it and get back to you on that.
okay, fair enough. And Tracy Bax.
So no, I've not read the entire plan on the mayor's plan on social justice, or injustice, but so to Colin's point, certainly I'd like to read that and understand it. But I will say, that is something when it comes to understanding diversity, inclusion, and programs, and how to address that moving forward. That is something that I think is very important, needs to be on every single one of our radar. It needs to be something that all of us as candidates need to understand and build some plans around. So I would like to read it so I can understand it further, because I do think inclusion, and again, I said this earlier, we have to involve our citizens. This is a job where we're representing the communities in Niagara Falls, and we need to be sure that we are including them and hearing them. So so I would like to read it and respond to it
Okay.
further.
And Dante Miles. Have you read the report and what did you think about it?
No, I haven't read the report, but I was actually on the Health Disparity Task Force for the Social Justice Committee. And I think how I feel holistically about it, I'm really not about collecting data just to collect data. I think, we hear the saying, love is an action word. Well, if we love our city, we need to see action towards the betterment. So once we find out like what's actually wrong in these areas, when it comes down to jobs, when it comes down to law enforcement, when it comes down to the health disparities and the other situations that we deal with in our community, we need to take more action. And so do I feel like there's action that has been taken? Maybe we can work on it, but I don't see it as something that's being brought to the forefront right now, because a lot of people are still struggling with these issues that we deal with when it comes down to social justice. So that's really answering my question. That's how I feel about it.
Okay, thank you. And James Abendanza.
I'm here. So we're going to be, I also have not read it, so I will make sure that I do. It's whatever the details are in it, I hope that they're comprehensive, and I hope that they're followed if they're good. And I guess not having read it, that's all I have to say about it right now. Hopefully we'll be able to revisit that in another forum.
Okay, and the last person is Jim Perry.
I'll give you a short answer to it. No, I haven't read it, but let me put a story to that, and you could cut me off as soon as my time is up. Early on, Dante and I actually had fought a battle, which goes along with a little bit of this. And we sat down and had lunch one day to discuss some of these issues that have come up. And I absolutely agree with him. You know what? You can write all the reports in the world, but you know what it comes down to is show me what you're going to do, and then we'll look at what the report says. Because I've seen all kinds of reports, I've seen all kinds of data, and I remember writing quite a few reports. But it doesn't mean a darn thing until you show me you're putting some of these things to work. And you know what? Until you put something down, we have reports and we have plans. Like I said, some of them we're 10 years behind on, but it doesn't do us any good to write all these reports. All it is a waste of paper, and some of them we're paying money to write them, and that's all it is to me. So no, I haven't read it. And I'm not even going to tell you I'm going to read it. So.
Wow. Okay then. Gee, maybe. I thought everybody would have read it by now because I did. Don't mind, I dropped my phone. There, I'm back again. because it's my stopwatch. Well, I guess I'm looking at, let me close this. And does anybody need like a 5-minute break? And then we can come back and we'll have more questions and more discussion. Would you guys be okay with that?
If
I'm
you need
good.
one, we're
If
good.
you want.
Nah, I'll just keep going. Okay. Well, I'll come with a different question. What would you say to somebody who was considering moving to Niagara Falls and only knows Love Canal and crime? And I guess I'm gonna have to shuffle my my papers again so that I come up with a new order. I know James Abundanza's gone, or maybe it's Zajak's gone first twice. So this time we'll let Colin go first.
I'm ready. So if somebody was moving to the falls and the only thing they've ever heard about us was Love Canal and crime, they wouldn't be wrong because we do have both. But I would tell them that they are missing a few very key factors. We have a lot of people here who are trying so hard to do good things, and we have amazing people here. It is ingrained in the fiber of our city to have fantastic people, longstanding families, and those are the people that make the city as good as it is, right? I mean, we're not talking about crime and we're not talking about blight anymore. We're talking about our people. Our people are what make Niagara Falls great. Outside of that, we have an awesome history. We have a beautiful waterfall, in case they didn't hear about that. The waterfall has been there forever and it will continue to be, and it is assets that we are missing out on. The history of this city is awesome. We had a rise at turn of the century, right? We were the honeymoon capital of the world. Theodosia Burr came here for her honeymoon, and that was, 1780. The architecture shows that amazing history in real time. So we have some of the most beautiful buildings, and they stand as a timepiece to when they were created here and what we used to be, in my opinion, what we can be again.
Thank you. I kind of let Colin go a little bit over because, well, my wife finished work and she, I think, just ran out to get herself a sandwich. And now that she pulled back in the driveway, Gord was greeting her. So that was my way of stalling, Colin. But Dante, the same question for you. What would you say to somebody who is considering moving to Niagara Falls and knew nothing about it but Love Canal and crime?
Well, of course, those are two things that are very pretty much highlighted, especially in media, and it's actually facts as well. So I can agree with Colin on that. What would I say? Well, like I spoke before, there's such a level of apathy even within the community, and we have a community of people who really do care. However, especially if they're considering, you know what I mean? If you know and love, like I always say, I talk about concerning my kids, I always say that I can't die because I don't trust that our city is the best version, not even a good version of itself at this present time. And I know that there's a lot to be done. So I think the biggest thing is that I would keep it 100 with them and tell them, like, if you're ready to work towards helping bettering the city, absolutely. But if you're looking for a safe haven that's, a place that you want to retire and you want to bring your family, I can't quite say that this is because I choose to be a man of integrity and not lie to anyone and try to make them feel some kind of way for any kind of reason. So I can't say that this would be that place for them. So just depends on which way they're trying to go.
Thanks, Dante. And Jim Perry, same question.
All right. Well, first off, I would say, look, crime is a fact, but you know what? Crime is throughout New York State. It's not a Niagara Falls thing. Buffalo has crime. Their crime rate has increased significantly too. Albany, their crime rate has increased significantly too. It's not a Niagara Falls thing. look at what the legislature has done in Albany. It's not Niagara Falls. It's Albany. So it's not Niagara Falls. Don't worry about the crime. We'll handle that. We're gonna march on Albany. That's done. The Love Canal, that's ancient history. Don't worry about Love Canal. Come on down, Niagara Falls. Look, now's the time to get there. We're on the move. We're moving up. We're on the uptick. Now's the time. Come on down. We're on the base. We're at our lowest level right now. We're going to start moving up from here. We can't go much lower. We're moving up. So let's come on down. Come on down. You'll love it. Niagara Falls. It's for lovers. Come on.
Thanks, man. And David Zajac, let's hear you top that.
That's a tough one to top. That is a tough one to top there. But I mean, kind of going off what several of the candidates said, I mean, crime is an issue no matter where you are. Sometimes it's higher in places, sometimes it's lower, but dare I say there's no place that's crime free. So to use, crime as a deterrent, I think there's definitely ways to get people to see that there are still good neighborhoods in the city. And again, the city as a whole is a very good place to live. As for Love Canal, I know that's a very big part of our history. When I went to school in Michigan, the professors there and even some of the students knew very well about Love Canal. Their perception of it was kind of skewed as they thought it was across the whole city. So, I mean, I definitely think it is in our past. It's an important part of our past. But I think if individuals are looking to move here and they're able to, even Google or come visit the area before they actually move here and talk to some residents, whether it be in one of our local restaurants, community gatherings like the one that was over at Gill Creek this past Saturday that was put on by Sarah AJ. I think that they can get a good sense from the people that, Niagara Falls does have its issues, but it's still a great place to live and raise families.
Okay. And Tracy Bax.
I don't know if I can top Jim's commercial or not, but so the first thing I would tell people is, yeah, you know what, Love Canal, that's history. Let's talk about today. And I think every single one of us who are on the screen here is doing what we're doing and running because we believe there's better days ahead for Niagara Falls. We believe there's opportunity, and there is opportunity here. A lot of opportunity. But you know what else I would tell them is that, hey, if you want the most amazing food ever, come to Niagara Falls because we do have some great restaurants, some good Italian food, Polish food. There's those little hidden gems all over the place. So certainly their bellies will be full. And but Colin, I think you talked about it. The beauty, oh my God, the natural beauty that we have in this city is unmatched. And I mean, it's you can see me lighting up because I do think that's one of the the assets we have here in our community for us to boast about and brag about. And it's beautiful in 4 seasons, and you have to see it in 4 seasons. And there's a lot of there's a lot of work being done down there to transform and create tranquil spaces, and it's just absolutely magnificent. So I would tell people that, yeah, you know what, everything that everybody's already said. It exists in every city. Every city has all the problems we've talked about for the last hour. But this is a city that I believe, and I think that's why we're all here. There's opportunity moving forward, and it's an absolutely beautiful, beautiful site with the waterfalls.
Thank you. And James Abendatsa.
I love that we focus on the positive. All the candidates here had something positive to say, which is great because it is a great city and there are wonderful people here. And Tracy, about the food, it's for sure. I mean, we have the best food around. So it's good to focus on that. And, I talk to people and I try to focus on that as well. But there is a reality, and that reality is that we're not there yet. We're not to a place where people can just come here and just be okay. It's like I said, we have a long way to go. We have a lot of things to clean up, a lot of things to organize. We have plans and long-term plans that need to get created or followed. So we need to really, step up our game. And everybody here, all 6 of us, the fact that, we're running and trying to do our best, it's very important that people come out and try to be leaders, new leaders. And we're all getting a chance here, and I think it's great. But yeah, for a new person moving here, I would, like Dante said, I'd have trouble telling, like, glossing over too positive, because, there are negative aspects, obviously, to Niagara Falls. And I think that I would definitely, try to focus on the positive, but I would definitely tell them the negative as well.
Great. And I think just because we still have about half an hour to go, if we're going to go 90 minutes with this. And I kind of wanted to open it up and let everybody have just, a minute or two just to talk about whatever you'd like. So I'm going to randomly call on Dante. I don't think I've called on you first yet. So, so tell us, give us your pitch about why you should be elected, Dante.
Well, I believe in a whole Niagara. I believe in a healthy Niagara, a holistic Niagara, a Niagara that pretty much the walls of communication that has been built over decades. One side of our city not really speaking to the other about a lot of the issues that we all suffer with here in the Falls. I understand community. I bring community. I understand the role of city council. I've, pounded the podium for the last 5, 6 or some odd years. And I believe in, bringing the community into these political spaces, but as well as being a person of the community, person that deals with a lot of the rough issues that we do have. Like I live literally my home that I bought is right next to an abandoned, built up, condemned building with squatters and heroin addicts living there. I can connect and understand, have the empathy, and be able to share the same, and be able to be to fight for a lot of the situations and the issues that a lot of there are real people with real issues that they live with here. I can touch that. You know what I mean? I feel like I have a level of being able to understand and bring that level of empathy where it should be in these political spaces, being that if I'm going to represent a city at large, I need to understand every last portion of their issues and come up with some ideas and some solutions in the process. So I believe that that's what makes me a great candidate, because I'm out here in the community, and I'll continue to be out here whether I'm in or out.
Well, thank you very much, Dante. And when I shuffled my papers again, the one that came up second was Colin.
So I think I'm a good candidate because I am ingrained in this community. I grew up here. I grew up in Belden Center, which is not technically the city, but it is sitting on the city. And every weekend I would spend with my father in different areas of the city. So I have lived in the Park Place district. I've lived on Buffalo Avenue. I've lived downtown, and now I currently live in DeVoe. So I have lived in just about every corner that the city has to offer. I have been working here ever since I was 15. My first job was at the public library. My second job coincided with that at the Boys and Girls Club, where I worked for about 7 years. I've taught summer camp here. I've done after-school programs at Kelfis, and I've really, I've worked in every portion of our city. I started a business here that I built with my own 2 hands out of absolutely nothing. And I went through that process of figuring out how to be successful here in the city and what it takes and some of our roadblocks. So I bring that experience to the table. And if elected, I will work for every corner of the city that I have been in. I've talked to, at this point, I think I've talked to just about every corner that we can get to, and all of their suggestions sit with me and will continue to sit with me. And I want to keep that open communication for the city at large.
Well, thank you very much. And James Abundanza.
Hello. So I'm a knowledgeable person for different things, and I'm willing to put in the hard work that is needed to help turn the city around. I feel, very importantly, I feel like a really great empathy toward the people who live here. I can't stand when people aren't being treated fairly and, you know, or they're being oppressed in some way. So I feel just a really a big empathy for the people here. So, you know, and I've lived here my whole life. I have a great knowledge of, you know, the city and the people here. Raising my 3 children here, and you know, having a business background, I think helps qualify me for being on council. So overall, it's great. I think that you know, yeah. Sorry about that. So overall, I think that you know, I would be a great candidate and for working on city council and bring a lot of experience and knowledge to the group.
Okay, thank you very much.
And I'm sorry, was I just muted? You guys heard me, right?
You know, James, you were muted a little bit. If you wanted to replay.
No, it's okay. We're good.
Okay, that's fine. And David Zajac.
So I mean, I feel like the biggest component that makes me want to a good candidate for city council is the business for pleasure motto that my father and grandfather instilled in me and my siblings growing up. You know, being raised off the back of a family business, there's a lot of decisions that have to be made, not just for yourself, for the good of the business, but also for your family. You know, I have 4 other siblings, so oftentimes those decisions were tough, but you know, we came to terms with them, and that's how we were raised. Besides that, I mean, I know I believe Dante touched on it earlier. You know, it's not just a yes or no vote when you're on the council. If you're going to vote yes on something, you know, you should be able to tell people why you're voting yes on it and support it. And if you're voting no on something, anyone can vote no. But I think unless you bring a solution to the table of what would make you vote yes on it, or something different that accomplishes the same goal, you know, I think you're almost there just being a yes or no man. And that's not what the city needs to, you know, progress us forward. I think we need to have a council that can work together, also at the same time be able to debate one another regardless of party lines, and also be able to support the mayor, but at the same time keep him in check, again, for the betterment of the city. And I believe that I can put party politics aside, you know, no longer let that plague our city council or our city, and do what's right for the future of our city to see Niagara Falls progress in a positive manner.
Okay, thank you very much. And same question, Tracy Bax, take it away.
All right, so I think a lot of what I heard is from other candidates, I think is really interesting. And I think what I would share with the viewers is what's really unique about this year and this election is 3 people who are on the screen here will be voted in. And everybody, we all bring different unique backgrounds and skill sets to the table. And I think what's really kind of cool is the voters will be able to put together you know, be able to vote 3 in and kind of put together a package of complementary skill sets. Now, why I think I'm a good candidate and what I can bring to the table is my experience in I have 30 years experience in the tourism industry, which is one of the one of the bloodlines that flows through our city here and fuels our city. But not only that, but digging in a little deeper when it comes from a business perspective, and I've heard this from a few of the other candidates. I work for an organization, I work for AAA, and we have several different businesses that we run, and I'm very used to putting together strategic plans, and I have experience and background in doing that with budgeting, with leadership ability and skills, with working collaboratively with executive level associates to be able to, create business opportunity and to lead groups of people, down the path where we need to in order to, to have good things happen. So these are a lot of the skill sets that I have to bring forward to the table. And I think that would be really, really valuable in this position as city council. And the last thing that I will say is, I grew up in the city. I was born in the city. I have a passion for making things better. And I really believe, like all of us, we talked a lot about the negative. There are better days ahead, but it takes people willing to dive in, peel the onion layers back, understand what it takes, roll up their sleeves, make the hard decisions and work with people, that you need to work with, regardless of political affiliation or, who's who and who's whatever. It's all about results. And so that's why I believe I'd be a good candidate and work well, work for the people of the city of Niagara Falls.
Okay. And Jim Perry.
This city, with this election, this city is at a crossroads. First of all, I'm a fighter, and I've never been a person to sit back. When I came back to the city from the Army after spending 10 years, and I went to work for a Fortune 500 company. I worked my way up from a production operator and to an executive position. I retired after 32 years. And I thought I was gonna ride off into the sunset, but a friend of mine called and asked me to go to work for the water board. So I ended up going to work for the water board because they were having some labor issues. I worked for the water board for 4 years. I saw there was a lot of corruption and a lot of waste, and I did my best and fought to correct that situation. We made some headway there, but not as much as I wanted, but I would have had to stay on longer. And there were a lot of politics involved and a lot of things that were wrong. And I did my best to correct them at the level that I was. And I want to continue that fight. And that's the reason I'm in this fight now, is because I want to continue this fight and make things right. There's too much waste. There's too much, there are too many things that are wrong with this city. And it's not just, I'm not blaming any one person. It's something that we had inherited, and it continues to go on, and we need change. We need this to change. Every one of the candidates, I believe, are worthy. But I have seen things that need to change. And God bless any one of you, whoever wins in this election, bless you. I hope you go on and do a good job. And I hope you see some of the things that I've seen. If I'm not there with you, I hope I am, but there's only 3 of us that are gonna walk in. But
Okay.
the voters will decide who the best people are for that job. So let them have their word.
As we move through questions now, I guess I have another one that's, well, it's something that's been troubling me a little bit. A few weeks ago, the state parks called together all the politicians so that they could trot out their $46 million new visitor center, which is right by the Maid of the Mist and positioned to keep people at the Cave of the Winds and the Maid of the Mist and in the state park where they can give their money to Delaware North and head the other way. And there are some folks who have businesses in that downtown area right there who say, what in the heck are they doing? Why are they not doing more for the city of Niagara Falls? And meanwhile, the mayor and Assemblyman Morinello and all the other folks from the big money outfits were there just kind of kowtowing to the state people rather than saying, hey, man, what about us? We have this big city here and you don't really do jack for us. So I rearranged my cards again, and Jim Perry, you get to go first this time.
You know what? Those are some of the things I was speaking of. What you had mentioned there. How much do we give to the state? How much do we contribute, and they give us nothing back? We need to start voicing. We need to start explaining to the state, look, we have a block of votes here. We can help you. We can work with you. We need your help. This is something that we need to communicate to them in a way that you know, I've had Governor Cuomo's come here and he's spoken when I was at the water board. He came in, he flew into town when we had you all heard of the Blackwater incident. I know. It happened right after our administration came in. That's one of the first things we did. We came in there, they were understaffed. I just started to staff up and that happened. So, geez, can anything worse happen? Well, luckily nothing worse did happen, but it did happen. But then he came in, flew in, and said, well, we're going to give you $20 million. Okay. I didn't see any money, but they promised that they're going to give us all this money. But anyways, the whole thing is they have not really helped Niagara Falls at all. They come in with these projects and they take, but they're not giving us anything back. We need to work with the state. When Rudy Giuliano broke the mob in New York, he didn't do it by treating them nice, like the Reform Act for the criminals. He didn't do that by being nice to them. He got tough. We're not going to kiss criminals and take care of this crime rate, this soaring crime rate. Every time we give them more, they're taking more. You can't arrest people. We talk about community program. You're going to arrest a guy and then take him into jail and let him out the next day so he can come back and beat up his wife again? Come on, that does not make sense.
Thanks, man.
Okay.
Yeah, I got him fired up again. That's okay. It's a good thing. Impassioned people are always more interesting. Tracy Bax, what's your take on that?
So I think my take might be a little different. I think that when I look at the state park and I look at the 8 million, 9 million visitors that come to this area to visit the waterfalls, I do think that there is opportunity for Niagara Falls. There are people that are literally a footstep away from our city. And I think our city and the state needs to work collaboratively to understand how are we going to pull those visitors in? And we have a certain responsibility to that too. So I think for us, what we need to do as leaders is create a climate for people that want to open business up in downtown Niagara Falls and create better experiences for our visitors and our local residents to enjoy in that area. I mean, with 9 million people coming to this area, that is a huge, huge opportunity for us to take advantage of in our city. And we do have to have better collaboration, better understanding, and we have to work together on that. That's my take on that. From a visitor's perspective, I would say when they come to this area and they visit the state parks and they visit our city, they're going to want world-class, high-tech, high-touch experiences. So we do need to provide that, but we have to provide more things in our city, more wayfinding systems, more entertainment, more family-friendly types of experiences. So I do think we need all of that, and we need to work together to capitalize off of those 9 million visitors that are coming to the area, because it's a huge economic boost to the city if we can do that, and we can do that better.
Okay. And James Abundanza, do you have some things to say in that discussion?
I think if they could, New York State would pave over Niagara Falls and just make more parking lots. We're basically in their way, or at least they're acting like we're just in their way. We need to fight for our city to be heard with the state, because our local leaders currently aren't fighting for us. Would you say it was 48 million or 46 million?
46 million.
Yeah, $46 million for another visitor center at the Falls is not what we need. I think about how about repurposing the Rainbow Mall? How about anything that helps to make the city and the park make money? If the state realized that, if we had a stable, beautiful city next to Niagara Falls, the actual falls, it would make the Falls Park even more profitable, and for both them and us. So.
Okay, thank you very much. And I don't know who's next. Oh, there it goes. Colin, can you speak a little bit on that visitor center and our relationship with New York State?
$46 million to tear down and rebuild a visitor center on Goat Island. I can't get behind that. I just can't do it, because what if we could do 46 $1 million projects in our city that feed our people, that lead tourists from the park into the city to eat at our local restaurants, shop at our local businesses. This is what we need. We have such a disconnect. We're the tale of two cities, right? We have this beautiful, well-funded state park, and in the meantime, you have less than 60 feet from it, and the whole thing falls apart. So I would really like to see the state come to the table for the city and help the city build into what it should be, which is a beautiful and walkable place to live and work for everyone.
Thank you. And David Zajac, just like school, you ended up last again.
I'm used to it. I'm used to it. You know, I think I share the frustrations of a lot of the people in the city. You know, there was a lot of talk about our social media and the newspapers, and even just talking to people every day, people that I work with that may not live in the city and, you know, heard about it. I understand the frustrations of it. I think it just furthered the stance that I believe Mr. Perry and Mr. Abadanza brought up, that it just seems like, you know, the governor doesn't care about the city of Niagara Falls. He cares about the cash cow that is the state park. You know what? Again, like Tracy had said, we do want facilities for the tourists to come that are up to date and innovative, and, you know, that keep them coming back, or, you know, that they talk about to their families, that they can take pictures in front of and everything like that. That, you know, have some of the history of the city there. But I think realistically, the governor has shown that he's not interested in making the city better or getting people to leave the state park. And again, like Tracy said, I think it's the job of the city and city leadership to make every effort to draw those people out of the park and give them a reason to come into the city. You know, time and time again, we've seen the governor make promises during election years. I believe the Rainbow Mall was supposed to be Wonder Falls, if I remember correctly. And then after the election, that idea fizzled away, and, you know, we're still left with nothing down there, the old Rainbow Mall, which could very easily be repurposed. So, you know, I think, while it's frustrating with the $46 million that could have been used in the city of Niagara Falls, you know, hopefully the city and its elected officials are able to give incentive to those tourists that are using that new facility to come into our city, to our restaurants, our stores, see, you know, our historical things that make up Niagara Falls.
Okay.
Hey, you can't leave me out of this, bro.
Oh, Dante.
Oh, I'm not last.
I did. I'm sorry. That's the first time that's happened. Go right ahead.
Well, $46 million for this visitor center is completely foolish. I've spoken out against this. And I feel like Niagara Falls is our governor's little piggy bank. And we have 75% of our monies that we get from the state park, from casino funding, all of that parking and all of that good stuff goes right to Albany, right? So when we have so much blight in the rest of our city, to take $46 million and to do that, for me, is a slap in our city's face. The residents that pay taxes, it's like I have a hand and this thumb has a huge infection that could cause it to fall off. But I'm going to, you know, as you know, you're going to polish your nails and you're going to make everything else look cute, but there's a problem. This blight, the blight within our city, the like I said before, the broken window theory, that's a real issue. And here's the truth. It doesn't matter if it was a casino. It doesn't matter if it was a hotel, the Rainforest Cafe, all of this other stuff. I promise you, if you tore every last one of those things down and planted grass through that whole thing, there's this thing called the Niagara Falls that flows over cliffs. And that's what brings the 8 to 9 million people here. Not all of these extra little trinkets that we're putting out. People have been coming to the city of Niagara Falls forever, right? So I think we've already overspent in an area that takes the most from us. So I'm on that same street, the same path of, we need to fix the rest of our city. We need to get people, because people are gonna come, if they spend money to come from out of the country and out of town to come to Niagara Falls, they're guaranteed gonna find that falls. Even if there was not a sign to show them where the falls were, they're gonna find it, right? But then what happens is they look at Canada and they see all of the beauty and the lights and everything across the bridge, and they go there. When the rest of our city is suffering, we don't have a good tax base. And so we need to absolutely fix this broken window called the rest of our city.
All right, Dante, you said it well, but you were getting a little long there. And I wanted to kind of close this whole thing up. If everybody could take, maybe 45 seconds or a minute or so, we can end right about at 8 o'clock just to have some final thoughts. And I'll start with Mr. Zajac.
I just want to start off with thanking Mr. Christie, Mr. Jenko, for putting this event on, the Civics Project, all the block clubs that were able to join us today and be a part of this. My fellow candidates, thank you all for your time tonight. It was great to see you all in person at one time and hear your points of view. I look forward to the campaign season going on to November. And I just wanted to end with, I'm not sure if anyone had heard, but I had seen right before the meeting tonight that former Mayor Anello had passed away. So I just wanted to extend my condolences to the entire Anello family, and thank you for his service to our city, both as a mayor and from his talk show that educated a lot of people from our city.
Thank you, David. And James Abundanza.
There we go. Again, thanks to everybody. Thank you for everyone who put this on. It's really nice to, be surrounded with all these other candidates who have such a, we share a passion for the city. It's been really great to hear your ideas and hear you speak. I haven't had a chance to hear some of you speak, so this was great. Thank you.
And thank you, James. Thanks everybody for coming too. And thanks Tom Christie and the Block Club Coalition for helping us put this together, as well as the Rotary. Jim Perry, go right ahead.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes, I'd like to thank everyone concerned with this discussion tonight. I'd like to echo my sentiments, offer condolences also to Vince Anello's family, and Councilman Ken Tompkins lost a nephew this week also in a tragic motorcycle accident. And Dante, you reminded me of something when you talked about the bright lights in Canada. And I remember when I was in patrol of Berlin Wall, maybe some of you are too young to remember, but at one time we had East and West Berlin, and I was patrolling the wall, and I remember looking over and seeing the eastern section, which was controlled by the Soviet Union. They had a Soviet Union at the time, looking over and seeing how dim and gloomy it was over there, and then seeing the bright lights of the West. All right, and I hope one day that we will be a bright light on the Niagara River. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Jim.
We'll see you again soon.
Yeah, we will. And Dante,
Thanks to Mr. Christie and the Civics Project and the Block Club for having us as well. I think if the main thing that I would like to stress is that the importance of the community becoming more engaged. So the people who are in the community become more engaged into the actual political spaces. Come get this information. Come see what our government officials, our local government officials are voting on. And I urge that those who are in position of power and who are actually making these decisions for the whole city of Niagara Falls, that you become a whole lot more engaged into the community in which you're making these legislative decisions for.
Okay, thank you very much. And Tracy Vax.
Thank you to Tom and to the Block Clubs for inviting us and having us here, and Joe for moderating us through and keeping us on time. But I do want to say, this was really great. It was a great experience for me too, to be able to hear and, listen to my fellow candidates, on the screen here. I haven't had a chance to meet some of you, personally, and this was really wonderful to hear some of your thoughts and learn a little bit about your background. So helpful for me in that regards, and I hope everybody listening was able to experience that too. One final thought, and Dante, you said something that I think is so important in your closing remarks, and for the community to get involved. I've attended some of our council meetings this year, and I'd love to see more and more of our community engaged, involved, understanding, listening, hearing what's happening, because none of us can do this job without the community, without hearing what's important, without knowing what they need, and without understanding, more importantly, understanding where they're coming from and why these issues are important, because that will help us to know what we're voting on, why we're voting on it, and why it's important moving forward. So if there's any message I just want to leave with, it's that we can't do this without the community, without Niagara
Thanks,
Falls.
Tracy. And I don't want to forget Colin. How could I forget Colin?
Thank you. Thank you to Tom Christie. Thank you to the Block Clubs. Thank you, Joe. And just to reiterate what Tracy and Dante just said, it's so important to have the community involved, because we are trying to represent you at large. And if we don't know what the issues are in your area of the city, you won't be adequately represented. So that involvement, that reach out, those conversations, and this forum is incredibly important to be able to bring to the position. And yes, I think this is great. I'm looking forward to the next one. It was nice to meet all of you if I hadn't met you yet. And
Well,
you're muted,
I
Joe.
muted myself accidentally. Thank you all for coming. And one thing is, I wouldn't be here, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the Niagara Gazette. So I hope if you're not a subscriber already, you become one, because community newspapers are an endangered species. And it's really important that we save this one. I mean, I just committed to move my family here to the Falls for this job. And it's a struggling newspaper, but it's down to a sustainable kernel. And when people like you support it, maybe we can make it a growing sustainable kernel. So thank you all, and I look forward to doing this again in a month. Have a great evening.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Good night.